This is KVUE News Midday.
Well, good Thursday morning to you. I'm Brandon Jones.
And I'm Anna Vita Reyes. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin with a look at what we're tracking with Storm Team meteorologist Erica Lopez.
Good morning. Well, we're starting to feel the heat up this afternoon, or late morning into the early afternoon. It feels like the afternoon because it's already so warm out there. Let's take a look at our current conditions. Just outside of the KVUE studio, you can see still lots of hazy conditions out there. That's because it's muggy, it's sticky, dew points in the 70s. And as far as temperature-wise, mid to upper 80s is where we're currently at. The hill country, mid 80s to lower 80s, upper 80s, close to 90 degrees for some across our central counties, and slightly cooler for our eastern counties. But here's what we're expecting for this afternoon. Highs topping out in the upper 90s, actually closer to 100 degrees than not, but feel like temperatures well into the triple digits. I'll let you know exactly how warm it's going to feel this afternoon and the next several days coming up in the full forecast.
All right, thank you so much, Erica. Well, authorities are still investigating what led a gunman to open fire on Republican lawmakers at a ballpark in Virginia yesterday. Police are now seeking more background information on the suspected shooter. ABC's Stephanie Ramos has the latest from Alexandria.
Gunshots blaring nonstop at this Alexandria, Virginia ballpark early Wednesday morning, just 8 miles from Capitol Hill. 26 Republican members of Congress practicing for a charity baseball game, quickly turning into the intended targets. Zach Barth, a congressional aide, recounts those terrifying moments.
I was just a sitting duck out there.
The team's coach also wounded by the shooter.
I hit the first ground ball to Steve, and all of a sudden we heard this pow.
The lone gunman also sending a bullet into the left hip of Congressman Steve Scalise of Louisiana, critically wounding him.
He's in some trouble, but he's a great fighter, and he's going to be okay, we hope.
The House Majority Whip's Capitol Police security detail, 2 agents firing back at the shooter from behind an SUV, according to witnesses. Both officers injured, but saved many lives. The suspected shooter, 66-year-old James Hodgkinson, now dead. Authorities now scouring his Illinois home. He had reportedly been in the Washington area for a couple of months, living out of his van, and had a long and public history of anti-Trump and anti-Republican rhetoric, but didn't alarm those who were in contact with him at the local YMCA.
He never talked politics with me or anything, never expressed his preferences for or against. Very calm person, and I would never have suspected that it would have been him that would have done what happened.
In all, 4 people were shot. The congressman, 1 Capitol Police officer, a staffer, a lobbyist, and 2 others were wounded. Today, authorities are back out here at the ballpark in Alexandria, Virginia, analyzing the crime scene. Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, Alexandria, Virginia.
If we don't play this game, it's for charity, but if we don't play this game, it's been played 100 years, then we let these people that want to change the way we live in this country forever, and we're not going to allow that to happen. As I said yesterday.
That's U.S. Representative Roger Williams of Austin. He's reiterating why it's important for that charity baseball game to go on tonight. He's joined by his staffer, Zach Barth, who explains how he managed to survive the attack.
I was thinking mainly about just staying alive, just keeping everybody's heads down, and my wound, clearly I was able to run on it, so in the moment I thought it must have not been that bad, but that I was able to just kind of get down there. But I was really just trying to stay alive. I wasn't really thinking about the severity of my injuries at that moment.
Williams is also giving praise to Capitol Police, who helped the victims involved in the shooting.
A special counsel investigating Russian interference in the 2016 election is reportedly now looking into whether President Trump tried to obstruct justice. Now, sources tell the Washington Post that Robert Mueller is planning to interview the director of the National Intelligence and the head of the NSA following reports that the president wanted him to intervene in the Russian probe. President Trump has continued to deny any connection to the 2016 election meddling. And President Trump took to Twitter this morning to talk about the investigation. He wrote, quote, "They made up a phony collusion with the Russian story, found 0 proof, so now they're going for obstruction of justice on that phony story," end quote.
Right now, Austin City Council is considering renewing or repealing the decades-long juvenile curfew, which allows police to ticket and sometimes arrest minors who are found out late at night. The meeting started nearly an hour ago. KVUE's Jay Wallace explains why this ordinance could go away.
Yeah, every 3 years, the City Council votes to reauthorize or repeal this 27-year-old curfew. And today, we are at that 3-year mark, with support to end the ordinance growing in recent weeks, with one of the strongest voices coming from Councilmember Greg Casar, bringing up that Latinos and blacks receive the bulk of these citations. He says he wants to focus on building up these kids through positive reinforcement and through programs and involvement, rather than police interaction. He also sees the harm from this curfew coming from the fact that these minor offenses are making it more difficult for the kids to get jobs because of a created criminal record.
I want to do everything possible to not give people criminal records, which keeps them from getting jobs, which makes things less safe for our community. And also, we have a scarce amount of public safety resources. So I'd rather have our police working on other issues rather than ticketing thousands of juveniles for harmless behavior.
And Casar says he plans to start bringing to the table alternatives to this curfew system in the form of programs and new approaches to reach the kids and better understand what is going on outside of the school and in the classroom. Because he says the main goal for the council is to keep as many kids in those schools as possible. Also, right now, the City Council will consider a new policy that would require new business moving into the area to be responsible for dealing with the loud concerts and loud noise. In the newsroom, Jay Wallace, back to you.
All right, well, Americans are cutting back on their spending all across the country. According to the U.S. Commerce Department, retail sales dropped 0.3% in May. This marks the first decline since February. Families are spending less at gas stations, department stores, and electronics stores. Sales fell nearly 3% at electronics stores. Gas stations saw a 2.4% decline, and sales dropped 1% at department stores, which have struggled to compete against online retailers.
Well, Sears plans on cutting 400 full-time jobs as the retailer looks to turn its businesses around. The company has announced the closing of another 66 stores by September. That's in addition to the 150 stores which closed down in April. These latest cuts will include jobs at its corporate offices and some field operations positions, as well as jobs related to store closures. The job cuts represent less than 0.5% of the 140,000 full-time and part-time employees it had at the end of January. And still ahead, millions of seniors hit the road every day, but how safe are they behind the wheel? We'll take a look at programs designed to help them drive safer longer.
Plus, are your kids looking for a summer job? Well, Mickey D's is looking for some young, fresh faces to join the team. The unique way the food chain is recruiting. We're back after this.